It's Wednesday, September 11th, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start here. Some of the topics we'll be covering. After a year of rumors about what the new iPhones would look like, we finally found out yesterday. We'll recap some of the major announcements from the Apple event, including a new Apple Watch. And we'll be joined by Vicky Holt, the president and CEO of Protolabs, a company that specializes in digital manufacturing, and talk about how they can quickly create prototypes for virtually any product. And our own Drew Prindle will be stopping by the show today to discuss an article that's up on Digital Trends right now, covering the ongoing issues with vaping, including a stark warning from the CDC. And a new report is out detailing more of Elon Musk and SpaceX's plans for a South Texas facility to start test launching their interplanetary spaceship, which could someday take people to Mars. Got it all out. That's it, and so much more coming up here on Digital Trends Live. I like to test how much I can pack into 40 seconds. Just
Clearly.
I mean, if the Micro Machine Guy job was still available, that's what I would want to go for. That's the goal on it. Just we want to get so much information to everybody while we broadcast live. And hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live, your daily show here from Digital Trends, where we bring you the trending tech topics of the day, news, interviews, headlines, discussions, and so much more, all while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn Live, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So wherever you're finding us, drop in your comments, your questions as we go throughout the show. We always love that part of it, so let us know what you think. But right now, let's start it off. I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Nick Moke. Hello, Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's been a while since we've had you here on the show.
It has been. I feel like it's an honor to be here after the Apple event. There's always so much to talk about.
So much to cover. And that's the thing, that what we want to do is just kind of recap everything that we found out about Apple yesterday. I mean, everything that we can pack into like 10, 15 minutes and give you some of the highlights about what happened. So let's get into it here. That is definitely the trending tech topic of the day, is the Apple event that happened yesterday. And every year, I feel like as soon as it happens, instantly the rumors start happening about next year. So they're already flooding with those. But before we get to the 2020 rumors, let's just take a day and recap what actually was announced. So starting off, let's just get to the big one, which is the new iPhones. So the iPhone 11, there was speculation about the naming scheme.
I'm so happy they went with iPhone 11 as just the normal base model, and then the Pro is the elevated model. Also,
Yeah.
I'm so happy we have 11 instead of the confusion over is it X or 11?
Right? That was.
I don't want to have that conversation ever again.
Yeah, it's an X1. What are we talking about here? Yeah, it sounds like, they're going back to this scheme. Hopefully this is what it's going to be going forward. iPhone 11, you got the basic iPhone 11, which came out, and that's kind of, from what I'm understanding, that's the successor to the iPhone 10R.
Yes.
So that's what we're going for on that one. So like the $750 range.
Yeah, $699 actually.
$699.
They dropped the price from last year, which is kind of a shock. That never happens.
Never, yeah, especially with Apple. It's usually not
very seldom with Apple.
Yeah, that it would go down. So the iPhone 11, that being the base model, successor to the iPhone 10R. A few differences. I mean, design-wise, it looks pretty similar. There's not a lot of really drastic design changes, but the cameras were definitely different, and that's something that we noticed on all of them. We'll get into the iPhone 11 Pro and the iPhone 11 Pro Max, but the cameras themselves on this one, so two 12-megapixel lenses on the iPhone. There's the 3 that's on the iPhone 11 Pro and iPhone 11 Pro Max. Kind of the weird configuration that we thought they were going to be doing, but it's strange configuration on the back for that.
It is. It looks a little goofy. We've seen it on a lot of Android phones already, but
yeah.
Apple has finally got on board with the 3 cameras, and also the computational photography. That's what everybody's talking about. It takes 9 exposures and uses a bunch of crazy math to combine them into one hopefully superior photo.
Right.
That's something that Google has been bragging about forever, and Apple is now in that game as well, saying, hey, we don't just have the best optics, we're doing a lot of processing to make your photos look better.
Which is certainly something that they needed to bring on this one, because you saw what Samsung did with the Note 10 on their announcement, that some of the camera stuff that they had going, some of the processing power was pretty impressive that Samsung had. So this is definitely answering that and pre-answering whatever Google's going to come out with the Pixel 4. So striking first.
I'm sure Google will have a lot to say as well.
Oh yeah, that they'll be bringing up on that. And so that's, talking about that computational power. So deep fusion is what it's being called, or at least that's part of it, as far as where they can string together the shots.
I believe so, yeah. Like I said, it's taking exposures before you even press the shutter button, and then taking more afterwards, and then doing a whole bunch of math to try to combine that all. And then there's also a night mode now, which is also kind of a rebuttal to things that have already been available on Android phones.
Yep.
Supposedly makes it a lot better to get a shot at night. Julian, our reporter on the ground there, our editor on the ground there, wasn't able to test that because, of course, it's really bright in the room that they have.
That makes sense.
But I'll be very interested to see how that works out as well.
Yeah, and once we'll have a hands-on that'll be coming out here at some point too. But right now at Digital Trends, you can go through all of the specs. If you want to get deeper into the specs, we can definitely have all of that information for you, whatever you want to talk about. There was one interesting thing, just a side note, while we're moving through the different Apple announcements, having to do with the camera configuration. There's a lot of people that are really upset by it, and I saw a bunch of the memes going on. I wasn't even aware of what this was, but trypophobia is apparently a fear of small holes and clusters of small holes, and it's a real thing. Like, if you go on Twitter right now, you cannot avoid it of people really upset by the look of the cameras on that phone.
I guess they just lost a few customers with a very obscure thing.
Yeah.
They probably didn't realize what they were blundering into there.
Right, yeah, didn't consult that market, but that's a thing. You'll see that online today. I'm just letting you know. It's trending right now. If you see trypophobia, that's what it's talking about. So that's just some of the details on the iPhones themselves. There's so much information that we could go into with that, but you can check out all the details at digitaltrends.com. I will say, before we move to the other products, just pricing-wise, we said the $699 for the iPhone 11, which is actually a pretty good price for a phone like that. I mean, that's the day we live in right now. I guess that's a good price.
For a phone. What a bargain.
Wow. And then the iPhone 11 Pro will start at $999, and the iPhone 11 Pro Max will start at $1,099, and then it goes up from there depending on what kind of memory you want. So those are some basic details on that. Let us know your questions too. If you have any, we'll answer those, or we'll send you to our experts at digitaltrends.com and have them answer it. But continuing on with some other announcements they had, we did get a new Apple Watch, and that's something we weren't sure if it was going to be an update to the Apple Watch 4 or a full-on new Apple Watch 5, but they went with a 5.
Yeah, in fact, our own Andy Boxall wrote an op-ed before this saying, do we really need a Series 5? The 4 is already so far ahead of the game compared to Android watches that do we really need one? But they went for it anyway, and they introduced a couple new things.
Yeah, some of the new features being the one of the main ones that I was seeing, and again, reading our coverage of what we were happy about, was the always-on feature for the screen, always-on screen. So that way it's you don't have to tap it if you get a notification. You don't have to figure out how you can get to it. I think it was Julian that compared it to being on the subway in New York, where you have to have a hand on the rail or you're going to fall down. And he's like, if I get a notification, I can't look at it until I can stop.
The video that Apple showed had all sorts of crazy scenarios where you wouldn't be able to touch your watch. I think there was like some woman in a yoga pose that needs to check her watch. And it's like, you know what? It's also just cool to have the face showing all the time. I think that's part of it. It's a style thing.
Yeah, definitely. And they certainly are at the forefront, but that's what they put in the Apple Watch Series 5. They did say that the battery life wouldn't really change much from the 4, even with the always-on features. So that's
18 hours.
18 hours. Yeah, that's a solid battery life, I feel like, for something like that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're ready to plug it in every night, it should get you through the day.
Yeah. Do you have a smartwatch?
I do not.
Okay, I don't
I'm not a watch guy.
Yeah, and I'm not one either. The more these are advancing, the more I'm starting to think about trying one out. But yeah, I haven't been a watch guy previously either.
Yeah, if I could get past the watch rubbing on the keyboard when I'm typing, that would make me a watch guy. But
yeah, that's true.
It's always been the holdup.
I always just worry I'm just going to knock it into a door and then shatter it. That's really what I'm concerned with. So they need the new, some giant protector on there. That's all I need. Yeah, that would look
big
really
Nerf,
stylish.
Nerf collar.
A Nerf collar
your,
all around it,
Apple
so it
Watch.
sticks up about 3 inches off of the wrist. That's what we need. All right, continuing on, talking about some of the other announcements that they had, and we're just going through. We've got like I said, we've got the huge list at Digital Trends. The Apple iPad, we got a new iPad, bigger iPad, so 10.2-inch display on this, which is an increase of a ½ inch from what the previous one was. I mean, that's if you're an iPad fan, I'm sure this is a big improvement for you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess ½ an inch diagonally makes a big difference.
Yeah. So that's kind of what the improvement was on there. And I don't know how many people out there were clamoring for the new iPad or not. Maybe this is a big deal for you. Maybe it's just, a small step. But that is what they came out with. There is the new operating software with it as well. So that's certainly something that they did announce. I know we didn't get any other really computing announcements. Expecting maybe something in October for that. Maybe some new iMacs. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, I think that's the rumor right now.
The rumor is. So that's kind of where we're at on those. But let's talk about the services. The services, we did get some announcements on that end, and that's one of Apple's big pushes is into that market. That's where they see the growth. And let's go with Apple TV first, or Apple TV Plus, excuse me. So they showed this trailer for C. Judging by the reaction of a lot of people, people don't seem too excited about this.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this one?
I'm gonna go in the not too excited camp. I
Yeah.
didn't see anything here. It kind of looks like a off-brand HBO production. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's for those of you who don't know, it's set in a world where everybody goes blind, so those who can see are the outcasts. Hence, it's called C. You know, it's got Khal Drogo in there, but I don't think this is going to be getting a ton of people to instantly come over to Apple TV Plus. But this is just one of a slew of different programs that they're going to be putting out. The things that we did find out, though, is that it's going to be available on November 1st, and that's a key date, I feel like, because November 12th is when Disney Plus comes out. So they're trying to get in there a couple of weeks beforehand. There's no way they can compete with Disney Plus when it comes to programming. That's just far and away. Most services won't be able to compete with Disney Plus. But this is what they're trying to do. So they're getting it out on November 1st. And also, a couple of key things, $5 a month. So not too bad on the price, depending on what the programming is that they have available at that time. And if you buy a new Apple device, you will get a year's worth of service for free. And I think that's where the key thing is for them.
Agreed.
Getting on all those Apple devices.
I think that's the one thing they did right. Programming aside, it's like $5 a month and give it away on all these Apple devices. People are going to be getting this whether they want it or not because they're going to be buying a bunch of new Apple devices. So they're going to be poking around and talking about it.
Yep.
That'll create the buzz right there.
Yep, and if you get just one program that takes off too, with all the different ones they're going to be trying, and they have made it public that they really want to go for Oscars. So they want to get some Academy Awards out of this, which all the streaming services do. So they're dumping a ton of money into that, into small, like short films is one of the main things that they're going for in addition to these television series. So we'll see what kind of stuff comes out of that. They definitely have some star power involved though. I mean, there's a lot of, they can pay for celebrities to be involved.
They have the money.
Yeah, they do have the money for that. So we'll see where that goes. You know, let us know. Are you excited about Apple TV Plus? Is this something you really want to see? Or just in general? I mean, for that price, it's probably going to get a lot of people just to check it out. And if they're giving it away for free anyway for a year, if you buy a new Apple device, you're definitely going to check it out because why not? So I'm curious to see where that goes and how they can expand upon it. But we'll find out, I guess, November 1st when this launches, how good it does. And then the other thing that they announced is the Apple Arcade. So we knew this was coming. We knew it was going to be coming in the fall. We've got some more concrete information on it as far as how it's going to work. Also going to be $5 a month. So I think that's another really good price. That $5 mark, I feel, is a mark where most people can just say like, well, yeah, sure, I'll try it out.
I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
I think you get 100 games at launch for $5 a month. I can see this potentially being popular with parents of kids that are already racking up a bunch of charges on the Apple Store. So it's like $5 actually looks like a bargain compared to all the things that you can, you might have to actually shell out individually for those games.
Yeah, that's a good point. And September 19th is when that's launching, so a little bit sooner than what probably most people were anticipating, but September 19th is when Apple Arcade will be available. So it's going to be there for iOS services, macOS, and Apple TV. So you can play them on any of those. Yeah, like you said, more than 100 games. They've got some developers with some exclusive games for this, which is something that's a little bit different than what Google is going to have for their Play Pass, which is going to be coming out later on this fall. So we'll see, again, how the games take off. But for $5, I feel like a lot of people are going to try it.
I agree.
Yeah, so we'll see where that goes. But that's just some of the announcements that we have. And I know we just rushed through a whole bunch of that. If you want to go into more detail, we have tons of information at Digital Trends going through all of these different products. So go there, take a look, let us know what you think. We'll be updating constantly as we find out more information, as we have more videos going up. Julian's got a bunch of reviews right now that just went up. He was at the event. So check out all of that at digitaltrends.com. Now, it is time for one of our segments here at Digital Trends that we love, and it is called Read 'em and Weep, where we take a look at some of the comments that come through across our many different platforms, and we address them directly to you right now, right here. You can look at us as we read these comments and give you our reply. Sometimes we cry, sometimes we laugh. We'll have to see what happens. All right, Matt. Regarding sixth person dies from mystery vaping related lung illness. Going straight for this one, right out of the gate. Okay. While evidence is still a little lacking, I actually had someone recommend start smoking again because it's far safer. Nope. Yeah, I mean, that is certainly something that needs to be unraveled. We're going to be talking about that with Drew Prindle when he joins here in about a half hour or so. So he's going to go into some more detail about that. But yeah, I don't know what's safe anymore.
This can make smokers feel like really self-righteous. They're like, I knew that
Lording
I knew
it
all
over.
along that vaping thing
I
was
told
no
you.
good.
You looked ridiculous too. All right, so that's Matt. Matt, thank you for that comment. That is a big issue, though. We'll give you some more details on that here in a little bit on Digital Trends. All right, Richard, regarding new iOS 13 features, get ready for iPhone 11. An Apple review while using a Microsoft Surface device on the same table. Okay, you get a like anyway. All right, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm not sure if that was on Digital Trends Live. Was that something we were doing, since I do have the Microsoft Surface on here, or somebody else was maybe doing that? I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know where that came from either, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, either way, I mean, it was, to clarify, it was Julian. Okay, I just got word.
Oh,
So
it's
it was
Julian
doing it. Well, I mean,
Hey, he uses both devices.
Exactly.
He's got to stay up to snuff on everything.
exactly. See, he's impartial. He's just letting you know how it all works out. I think it's fine. I like it. All right. Well, Richard, thank you. Thank you for your comment there. And thank you for the like. That's what we appreciate the most. All right, Richard. AJ, regarding the Sweepovac is a vacuum installed under your counter that sucks up what you sweep. We've had one of these for 7 years. I still use the dustpan more often. I mean, I would definitely want to try something like this.
I'm a dustbuster man myself.
'Cause then
you take it to where the pile of dust is. You
Yes.
don't need to sweep it to one location, and you don't need to actually use the dustpan where you sweep it into the dustpan.
That's
it's
a
the
pretty
best
good
of
point.
both worlds.
You're making a really good sales point
Dustbuster.
for the
Been around
Dustbuster.
since like the 80s.
Yeah, that Dustbuster really does work. I still like the idea of just of sweeping things under a counter and then never having to worry about it, which is why I could use this. So I would give the Sweepovac a try. But I'm going to have to agree with Nick. That sounds like a lot of extra work when I can just use the Dustbuster. Yeah, that's what we're going with. Well, AJ, thank you. That comment was on Facebook. Appreciate that. Crunk, I'm just going to go with Crunk. Regarding Samsung unveils the redesigned Galaxy Fold at IFA 2019. They fixed one problem, but what about fixing human error? Now people can bust two screens when they drop their unprotected phones. Yeah, that's another thing that I worry about if I were to get one of these Galaxy Fold devices, is how durable is that screen?
Yeah, and how can you really protect it very well with a case? Because you can't use the same style of case that you would use on a conventional phone, so I don't really know how you go about sort of safeguarding the Fold.
Yeah, because if you put one on, I mean, then it just kind of ruins the whole idea of the Fold. And then you also have the extra screen on the outside. Yeah, I don't know.
I think there's a lot of things they didn't think through with the Fold.
Yeah, definitely. But it is going to be out. So I know it's out in South Korea right now. I think it comes out in the U.S. at the end of the month. At least that's the latest that we heard, if that does actually happen. But let us know. I think, Crunk, you should get one. And let us know how that works out for you. All right. This is, again, Read 'em and Weep, our segment here every day at Digital Trends Live, where we take a look at some of the comments that come across our many different platforms. Christopher, regarding the Lopfit e-bike, has a built-in treadmill to charge the battery while riding. Yeah, you can take this to pick up some craft beers and wax for your beard and be the envy of all your friends at the Vegan Outreach Center. Christopher, I bet you would love Portland, Oregon.
That cuts deep here. That cuts deep here in Portland.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, you're not entirely wrong, I will say. But yeah, thank you, Christopher. We know where you stand right now. Regardless, thanks for leaving your comment on Facebook. And thank you to everybody who leaves their comments, whether it's live or whether it's after. We do appreciate it. And sometimes we do read them here on Read 'em and Weep. All right. Let's continue on with some more trending news. We've got a few minutes here to get into some more topics, and this is actually one that I think is going to affect a lot of things down the line if this fully passes. And it has to do with a bill that's getting through the California legislature right now that could completely change how Uber and Lyft operate and the entire gig economy. So to give you the details, they passed a bill, it's waiting to be signed, that would require companies like Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, any kind of app-based gig economy type of application, to treat their contractors the same as regular employees. That's big. I mean, so right now, that's how it works. If you're an Uber driver, if you're a Lyft driver, you're a contractor, which if you're an independent contractor, you have a lot of freedom about when you operate, but you also have a real lack of protections as far as guaranteed wages, as far as, there's no such thing as disability, there's no medical insurance, none of those things that come along with being an employee. And I think this has the ability to really change up everything about this entire economy.
Well, I think those drivers have been advocating, Lyft and Uber drivers have been advocating for this for a long time. You remember the protests several months ago. I mean, there were strikes. So yeah, they got this bill out of it. It'll be very interesting to see what happens if it actually goes through. A lot of opponents, including like the companies themselves, are saying the prices will have to go up if this passes.
Right.
I'm very curious by how much that would actually be.
Yeah, what they would actually have to do to increase that, because they would also be able to. I don't know. Well, I don't know. We'd have to get into the tax side of it. Yeah, as far as the back end of how much that would then be written off, like company-wise, how much would they actually have to spend,
right?
Versus taking on that liability. It's a lot. I mean, you think about millions of people that work in the gig economy. This is huge, because this is going to reverberate. If it passes in California, you can imagine it's going to pass in other places too if this is successful. But like you said, the companies are fighting it. Lyft, Uber, and DoorDash have spent, I guess, $90 million for a 2020 ballot that would make them exempt. So this initiative would make them exempt for that. Like, yeah, everybody else, but not us though, not us. That's what they're kind of going for. Yeah, I don't know. This could really be huge, and I want to know what people think too.
Yeah, beyond like Uber and Lyft too. I mean, there's all sorts of companies that use this type of employment. I mean, I think even Amazon has been doing this with delivery drivers.
Right.
So it would affect them as well. There are a ton of huge companies that this would affect.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more companies, I feel like, that are going to be coming out against this. Just with $90 million just with Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash. And who knows who else is involved in that one. I feel like a lot of other companies are going to be coming out. But what do you think? Do you think this is a good thing? Are you an Uber driver, a Lyft driver, or a DoorDash driver? Do you work in any of these gig economy apps? I mean, what do you think about it? How do you feel about this passing? Would you rather be an independent contractor, or would you rather be an employee with some guaranteed wages? But then there's the part that comes along with that. You also lose some of your freedom. You probably wouldn't be able to work for a bunch of different companies at the same time. So it's really, there's a whole bag to unravel here, and I want to know what people think about that. So drop in your comments, your questions. Seeing some different comments coming through right now. Keelan just said $90 million spent to fight this. They could have just spent that money compensating their employees. Yeah, that's a very good point. So let us know what you think. That's where we're at right now, and there's going to be a lot more that's coming out about this. We'll have a lot of digital trends, but certainly discussions are going to be had about how this could affect everything. Going on here, we've got one other trending story that we have to bring up. We're going to go a little bit lighter here, unless this is really what you're into, and it has to do with KFC. Surprisingly, KFC they've done a lot of marketing initiatives at the forefront of technology. It's weird that they've had this before. At one point it was a placemat that turned into a keyboard. There was a Bluetooth keyboard. Yeah, they gave away, and they've done some different initiatives, but this is one, and I don't know who wants this. So they're launching a game that's going to be available on Steam coming up on September 24th, and it's called I Love You, Colonel Sanders, a finger-licking good dating simulator. It is a dating simulator where you attempt to woo Colonel Sanders. That's what it is. You go to a cooking school, and Colonel Sanders, I noticed in our comment, like, surprisingly buff Colonel Sanders. This is an actual game. This is not a joke. That's one thing I want to clarify. This is an actual thing that's going to be on Steam where you go through and you attempt to date Colonel Sanders.
It's a genius marketing move.
Genius. Because why else? We wouldn't be talking about KFC here right now, but we have to because of this.
I think some of us will probably be playing it as well. It sounded like in our Slack channels when this was announced that there were a lot of interested parties at DT that were going to give this a shot.
Adrian, I heard there were some people that were going to be playing this. So how do you feel about a KFC dating simulator game? Again, it is genius marketing. You're 100% right. I mean, to come out with this, but that's what it is. So so you can take a look at that on Steam. That comes out on September 24th. You can join the revolution in the dating simulator for Colonel Sanders. The problem is, what is this opens the gates for all these other companies too, a bunch of other fast food companies.
I think they're already all trying to out-weird one another. With the different, I mean, KFC's crusting things in Cheetos and all.
That's true.
All the marketing is going so weird for a lot of fast food places. I think this is an escalation, and it can get a lot weirder from here.
We're gonna see. We're on the verge of a whole weird fast food thing. I like this idea. I want to see where it goes.
I look forward to trying the weird concoctions.
Yes,
and I think Caleb probably does too, as a huge KFC fan.
Absolutely, Caleb will put himself on the line to do that for everybody here. I'm sure. We'll see how his dating profile works out for the dating simulator. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us here every day. We have a lot of coverage coming up here on digital trends that we want to bring you up to date on. But before I talk about that, Nick, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Always fun. and always fun having everybody out there interacting and dropping in your comments. We really love that, and so you can keep doing that throughout the show, whatever platform you're on. So here's what's going to be happening next. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be joined by Vicki Holt. So she's the president and CEO of Proto Labs, a company that is claiming to be one of the world's fastest digital manufacturers. And essentially it's this: when you come up with a prototype, like if you think of something, think of a product, and you want to get it made, you need to get it made fast. This is something that they're specializing in, and it's because of all the technology that they have right now to be able to do that. So we'll be discussing that and a whole lot more. Stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us wherever you're finding us. Hit that subscribe button. That way you get the notifications when we do go live. And we always appreciate interacting with everybody and talking about cutting edge technology. And that is what we're going to be doing right now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Joining us here on the show, we have Vicki Holt, who is the president and CEO of Proto Labs. Hello. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Greg. It's great to be here.
I am excited to talk about everything that you guys are doing with digital manufacturing and creating these prototypes so quickly. It's just such a really cool time we're here right now. But to give everybody kind of a little backstory, can you bring us up to speed on what the company is, and then we'll get into the whole process?
Yeah, great. Proto Labs is the world's leading manufacturer of custom prototypes and on-demand manufacturing services using a technology-enabled digital manufacturing process. We're 100% e-commerce, and our customers upload a CAD file to our e-com website, and through our proprietary technology, we virtually manufacture that part, send them back a quote, and then once they finalize it, a digital thread goes all the way through our manufacturing process, and we turn custom manufactured products in as little as a day.
That's incredible, especially, with so many people out there wanting to be entrepreneurs, and there's so many more opportunities that are available for inventors or people coming up with products. But previous to this, it was a really hard time to actually get a prototype. Can we talk about what it was before and why digital manufacturing is so important right now?
Absolutely. So we were invented by an entrepreneur who was very frustrated with taking months sometimes to get custom injection molded parts. So that's why he solved this problem, which is absolutely critical for manufacturers to get their products to market fast. And so it was a huge problem. And now we can take weeks, months out of the time it takes to go from idea to prototype to commercialization of a product.
I mean, that's amazing. Just in the time of Kickstarter and different people coming up with these things, that is so important to know what the price is going to be, if it can be done, how it's going to look, all of that.
Exactly.
Can we walk through maybe a couple of examples of some different companies that have utilized the service?
Yeah. So what I'd like to do in that is really talk about just a few things we've showcased recently that are kind of unique for us. So at Proto Labs, we do injection molding, CNC machining, sheet metal, and 3D printing. And recently we had a really fun project with the Met Gala. We partnered with GE Additive and Zach Posen, who is a designer, and we 3D printed 5 dresses for the Met Gala. Now, when you think about it, our customer base is usually the industrial engineer, not fashion. But the reason we did this is we really wanted engineers to understand the design freedom that they have with 3D printing. So it was an incredible success. It was a ton of fun, and we really enjoyed that one. And then another one I wanted to share with you is really about how Protolabs democratizes the purchase of custom parts from an entrepreneur all the way to a Fortune 50 manufacturer. And one of those entrepreneurs often watch BattleBots. And so what we did this year and last couple of years, we've sponsored Hal Rucker in his BattleBot, which is called Duck. And we manufactured for him many parts that went into Duck that using CNC machining, 3D printing, and injection molding, and even some sheet metal parts. So it was a lot of fun for us to be part of that. Our employees loved watching Duck compete. He was, I thought, the cutest BattleBot that was on the show.
Was he successful?
He made it through several rounds. He didn't win the whole thing, but he made it through several rounds.
That's still so cool. And that just shows, like you said, opening up that design aspect and how what the possibilities are, and showcasing it from an industrial standpoint of what you can do. Going forward, taking a look at what some of these possibilities are. I also want to talk about the customer experience here in a minute. Well, let's do that. Let's talk about the customer experience. So say I'm at home and I have an idea for a product and I want to get it made and I can create a CAD file. Then what? How does it work from there?
Yeah. So our customer experience provides tremendous value for the entrepreneur and manufacturers because it's very easy to use. You create an account, upload your CAD file to our website, and our software then takes it from there, and it breaks apart all of the decisions that have to be made about how you're going to make that part, and we concurrently crunch that in computer algorithms, and we send you back an interactive quote that has literally a digital twin of not your CAD, but the part we're going to make, and it has with that design for manufacturability feedback. So it's very important for a designer to be able to match their part, what they need it to do, with actually, is it manufacturable? And we help them do that with very valuable feedback to make sure that they're going to get a good part coming out the other side. And then when they get that quote as well, it's interactive. They can change things. They can change the material, the surface finish, the quantities, and it automatically changes that price point. So they know exactly what they're going to pay when they upload that to their cart and finalize the quote. And then when they do finalize that order, we turn that part around again in as little as a day.
Wow, that is really, really cool. I mean, that's amazing for entrepreneurs out there. Well, looking at it from that standpoint of how you've sped up that process and how you've made it a lot easier for people, where do you see this going from here? We're at here right now. A couple of years ago, this probably wouldn't even be as possible as it is right now. Where do you see this with the advancement of technology going in, say, like 5 years?
Yeah. So we continue to add capabilities for what we can do for our customers, expanding the envelope of what we do within our services, but also adding additional services. So we listen to our customers and we try to find out what is it that they need to get their products to market faster. And then we look to add that to our customer experience. So we will continue to build on that so we become a destination for our customers to be able to manage their projects, collaborate with their peers, and be able to get their products to market quickly and at lower risk because they can iterate and make sure their product's right before it hits the market.
Well, if somebody wants to take advantage of this and get involved with Protolabs, what's the best place for them to go?
Just come to www.protolabs.com and upload a CAD. And if you want to talk to people, we have development engineers and we have team members and customer service members that can help you through the process.
Well, Vicki, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. That is really an exciting prospect of how much this opens up for people and what we can see actually get made, and really, really cool to find out about how you're doing that. And thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you, Greg. Have a great day.
You too. All right, that is Vicki at Protolabs. Really cool. That's just really exciting. If you're out there and you're an entrepreneur and an inventor, skipping that whole process of trying to get something made and just making it that easy, that's huge. And that means that as consumers, we'll get to see a lot more products, which is really, really, really cool. All right, let's do this. We're going to take a break. Coming up here in a little bit, we're going to be heading to our New York studio. But before that, Mr. Drew Prindle is going to be joining us to talk about an article that's up at Digital Trends right now, and that is very much a trending story having to do with vaping, vaporizers, and some of the issues that are coming out about that. Some not good issues that are happening, including a really big warning from the CDC. So we're going to be talking about that. We'll break it down. We'll answer questions. All of that is coming up. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us on whatever platform you're on. Drop in your questions, your comments as we go throughout the show, because we can take those, we can address them directly because we're live. That is one of the great things here about this show. It is Digital Trends Live. I want to prove that to you. But let's get started here. I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Drew Prindle. Hello, Drew.
How's it going?
Good. This is a heavy-ish topic that we're going to talk about.
Yes, it is.
And it's certainly something, though, that is trending. We've probably all read some about it, but we're going to break it down a little bit more on what's actually happening. It has to do with vaporizers, with vaping, and some of the shocking things that have been happening with that and some of the dangers that are now coming out, including a big warning that just came out. But let's kind of break it down from the beginning and just really fill everybody in case you don't know what's happening and give everybody the base knowledge here.
Yeah, so the most recent story that I feel like most people have seen is that there was a sixth death that was caused by vaping-related lung issues. And this comes after, like 5 more before it in the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this really abrupt spike in vaping-related deaths, and nobody's really sure what exactly is causing it, because obviously, like, vaping's been around for quite a few years at this point, and a lot of people have been doing it. So it's kind of startling to see all of these illnesses start popping up. So the sixth most recent death was a woman in Kansas. She was 50 years old. Had some previous lung-related issues. Before that, there were deaths in California, Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota, and Oregon. And it's tricky because none of these people had like a common thread between them other than like vaping. There wasn't, they weren't using the same product or anything like that. So it's
not even like a bad batch or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they're still investigating it. But aside from those deaths, there have been as of this past Friday, there were 450 cases of vaping-related illnesses in 33 different states. So this is a fairly widespread issue right now.
I mean, when you think about it, it has been around for a while, but not long enough to really have a ton of studies on it, is there?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think there have been quite a few just because it's like a major public health concern.
Okay.
And, there's been other issues, you've heard of diseases like popcorn lung, or there's all kinds of weird little vaping-related issues, but this seems to be something different. This is, the woman that was admitted to the Kansas hospital recently, she got admitted, and it was just like rapidly deteriorating health as soon as she got in. And,
I mean, that's terrifying.
It was kind of just like a cascading issue that started apparently just from vaping.
So far, and again, we're talking about this. This is trending news. This is what's going on. The sixth related death. associated with vaping. That's the only thing that's tying them all together, and their lung-related issues.
Yeah, so they've kind of narrowed it down a little bit. There's one chemical compound that they think might be implicated in some of this, and it's vitamin E acetate, which is kind of like this thick, viscous oil that's it's commonly used in like skincare products. And
Yeah, so I'm
supplements
going to say
and stuff
vitamin
like
E,
that.
that's like a, topical.
Yeah, it's totally like a common thing for skincare products and stuff like that. But apparently, when you vape it, it's really not good for your lungs.
And this is something that's in...
So the tricky thing is, they found it in relatively high levels in some of the cases, some of these 450 cases, but not in all of them. So they're still not sure that it is definitely the thing that's causing the issues. However, right now, that's kind of the biggest culprit so far that they're really looking into.
So what do we know for sure? That's other than just this, like, okay, this is an issue.
So the CDC has said, if you're not like a regular smoker who's trying to quit like regular cigarettes, you should not be vaping. So that's what we know is like that's the advice from like the U.S.'s like best like health authority, right? So probably a good idea to stop that. Even if it doesn't matter if it's like e-cigarettes or cannabis infused ones. We also do know, however,
that's what I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah, the vitamin E acetate thing. It was more common and in higher concentrations in cannabis-related vaping products, cannabis-containing vaping products. So
I should specify: were these previous ones were this tobacco or marijuana, or just in general?
It was a mix of all of them.
Some
of them were just just normal e-cigarettes that only contain just like nicotine and carrier oils and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's still not super clear on which ones are the dangerous ones,
Dang.
which ones to avoid. They've held off on issuing anything other than that kind of broad warning.
Yeah.
Thus far, this morning the FDA senior advisor, one of their senior advisors, says more information is needed to better understand whether there's a relationship between any specific products or substances and the repeated illnesses. So.
Are there more studies going on right now of what happened to them?
They're absolutely looking into all 450 of these cases and just really trying to figure it out. So this is something to keep an eye on in the coming days because there should be more information coming down the pipeline soon.
Yeah, I was going to say, how long do you think before we would be able to know something? Is this like a years-long study?
It's tough to say. I imagine it'll come out soon. So the next couple of days, they'll probably have more information for us.
Yeah, and see where the industry goes from there and what they're, how the industry is responding. Do we know what they're saying?
I'm sure this isn't going to slow
quiet
down. This isn't going to slow down Juul at all. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they're just going to go business as usual until there's like an outright ban or something like that.
Wow. Well, that's a lot. That's a heavy thing that's going on. And we've got this article up at Digital Trends right now, kind of breaking it down a little bit more as far as what's going on and what, where it could go from here. Right now, though, that's where it's at. I think the CDC putting out a warning, though, that's a big thing. They're not going to do that lightly.
Yeah.
If they're going to be saying don't do it, that's pretty huge.
Increasingly, they are just. I don't think they were ever fans of vaping, and they were just kind of looking at it very cautiously. But that warning that they issued, just like, listen, nobody should be doing this.
Yeah,
is a pretty big deal.
Well, it's also just kind of a testament, just as when new technology comes out or new things come out. Remember, you got to have a little bit of a testing, and maybe this, who knows? Maybe this is just something that's a recent thing, or maybe this is prolonged now that we've got a few years of it.
Yeah, maybe because we've been doing it for so long, or because
now
so many people have, taken up these products. It's probably more popular than it's ever been. So I'm sure there's this uptick in numbers is somewhat related to the uptick in popularity, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. Well, a lot of studies will have to happen, but we'll keep you up to date with that at Digital Trends and check out that article there. Drew, thanks for explaining this a little bit more, because that's actually way more information than I had about what was going on. I just saw the headlines. I'm like, okay, that sounds bad.
Yeah, a little freaky, right?
Yeah, but this definitely explains it out a lot more. And that's what we like to do here at Digital Trends, is give you the explanation and bring you up to date on what's happening and make sure that you have all the information. And then you can go to digitaltrends.com and follow up and really go in depth with everything. All right, here's what's going to happen next. We're going to take a quick break. Then we're going to come back, and then I'm going to be sending you off to our New York studio. Drew, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
And thanks, everyone, for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. Drop in your comments, your questions. Stick around. We'll be right back with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I know I say that a lot, but I really mean it. Hit that subscribe button. That way you get the notifications when we go live. And I'm here in Portland, Oregon, but this is not where we're staying for this segment. We're heading to New York. We're standing by. We have our own Corey Gaskin. I'm going to hand it off to him. Hello, Corey.
Hey, Greg. How's it going? So, we have today Tom Eric, CEO and founder of Better, which is a digital platform that is focused on positivity and motivation, you would say, right?
Yeah, positive media company.
Right. So you're an emerging platform. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here and started with Better?
Yeah, so I've always been in the media world and then transitioned in a bunch of years ago into the digital space, and really loved my time when I was at Facebook for 06 to 2013, and saw the power of what a platform can do as it relates to connecting, which was really phenomenal. Right. And after leaving Facebook, I spent a number of years helping early stage companies, so startups, really in kind of that media content and kind of consumer space, and connected with Better used to be called a year ago Blueprint. And what I loved about it was this whole notion about unlocking development and wellness. So we originally, a year ago, we were way more focused on student athletes. And the more we thought about the possibilities and the magnitude of the way we could create a really purpose-driven company and how we could help people, it really, I mean, it became something way bigger than just student athletes. And it became all young people. So our whole mission is to create an environment, a platform where we're unlocking development and wellness for Gen Z. Right. And it's an awesome opportunity because never in our history have we seen more stress and more intensity that are happening in everyday lives for young people than today.
And never in our history have we ever had so much connection to digital platforms.
That's right.
So definitely can be something that can be good and can be bad.
That's right.
So, there's a lot of talk about how these things can go a bit awry, different kinds of message boards or Facebook, or even recently, I don't know if you know the actor Jeremy Renner, he had a fan digital platform, meant to be all positivity, and he had to shut it down how badly things got. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you're going to control that kind of media content?
Yeah. So we're gonna do things kind of atypical as it relates to a media company. So yes, we will have a desktop experience. We'll have a mobile experience. We believe that being super nimble in this space, especially since nobody's in this space today, so little connection is happening in a young person's life around positivity. So the things that we're not going to do, we're not another social network. We're not going to have things like likes or comments. So we're not going to have those pieces that initially, years and years ago, were great ways to measure engagement for users and for brands, their partners. But that's not why we're doing this. We believe that if we create this relationship between young people and content, really meaningful content, so content that can help someone move forward, one step in their life on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, we believe that we're going to be the best position to drive hope, confidence, and optimism like never before. It just doesn't exist. So people weighing in, that's not part of the design of the experience. Right. It's more about this content relationship that will live in a lot of different places other than a desktop and mobile.
Sure. And so can you tell me a little bit about how that content is curated, where it comes from, what kinds of media they are, their podcasts, is it video, is it like written pieces, and who's writing that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. So right now we have a terrific Instagram following at Better, BETR. And we're using that environment right now before we launch all the assets, really look at it as an alpha test. So we're looking at different ways content is being accepted and engaged with, and it's helping us think about the actual content team. So we have a wonderful team that has come over from the Players Tribune, and thinking about things in a really different way. So we are curating some content today, but ultimately our biggest goal, which we are racing towards, is creating this whole ecosystem of Gen Z content creators. And it's very different than user-generated content. So we're not going to allow everybody that comes to our assets to create content. But thanks to technology, there are so many wonderful people out there creating incredible content that is around positivity, that is highly motivational, highly inspirational. And those are the people that we want to bring into our ecosystem so we can establish what we believe is the most powerful part of our platform, which is this peer-to-peer and near-peer relationship, which is really critical. So it's not legacy folks that have been in the content business forever creating the content every day. We'll have some, but we see a day not too far out where the ecosystem of Gen Z creators will be the real driver of the relationship, the content relationship with the audience.
So meaning like YouTubers and influencers of different kinds, or will these people be coming from a submission process, or will it be?
Yeah, it is going to be, it'll be pretty manual from the standpoint in the very beginning, but it'll be a submission, and we need to make sure that we have one incredible alignment from the mission. So we need to make sure that anybody that believes in the same thing that we're doing, there's a real opportunity. And if there's a person who doesn't, then we want to make sure that that environment is not kind of tainted in any way. So we have to be super methodical about it and really diligent in making sure that every person that we bring in to create a better content experience and opportunity, we have to have that alignment.
Right. So you say that this is motivation and positivity on their terms. So does that mean that you won't be sending notifications? What does that translate to?
Yeah, I think it's more of the tone. So there's plenty of research out there today that the intensity of a young person's life is very real. We believe if we create a relationship with our audience that is not always on the serious side, but using pillars like humor, entertaining. So if we use, say, humor, for example, kids don't have enough of a laugh these days. Young people don't have enough of a laugh. So how do we create an environment where they can be entertained, but have a through line of meaning, so we are still true to what we're trying to do? Sure. And that is a dynamic that just doesn't exist today, and we're so pumped about driving that home.
So you're working with a lot of experts in health and wellness and development to shape this app currently.
Right.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, we are huge believers in collaboration. So while we have a wonderful team, super scrappy and nimble, we're very open and talking to a lot of folks out there that have incredible expertise in, say, social psychology. So people that really understand the audience, understand the needs of the audience, and really are helping us think about how to design content, a content roadmap that will drive that connection. So
you can. So it seems like they're not trying to just impact positive thinking, but also positive habits and just life, health and general wellness. So it might be even motivation to exercise, perhaps, and things like that. Or to get out, or get off the computer, or whatever that may be.
It's really. I mean, the whole spectrum between development and wellness can get really deep really quickly.
Sure.
And we're gonna focus on bite-sized pieces of content that a young person can consume in their busy day in lives, but ultimately touch a lot of the different pillars. The way we thought about designing our content from a channel perspective is we have channels like Inspire Me, Teach Me, Motivate Me, and there'll be a whole host of others. But ultimately, how does when a person comes to our app or desktop or Instagram, wherever they might go, they'll find an environment that they'll be able to connect with. Maybe it's managing your phone time and getting a great night's sleep, or maybe it's nutrition, the onset of stresses and anxieties and mental wellness are super important to not just young people, but their parents and the workplace, et cetera. So how do we help people think about again, taking a bit of content and helping them move forward in a really positive way. And ultimately, if we can be driving optimism with every single piece of content that we create, and if the takeaway from our audience is helping them move forward and live a better life, no pun intended, then that'll be a great marker that we're doing something right.
Sure, and I like the idea of having these sections for Teach Me, Inspire Me. It's sort of reminiscent almost a little bit to me of these subreddits on Reddit, where
Right.
there's certain more the positive aspects of which, of course, where there's certain things like Today I Learned, or more positive and motivational things that just connect and meet people where they're at.
That's right.
So can you just tell us a little bit about where to find out more about Better, and when we might be able to see this app?
Yeah, so right now you can go to Instagram at Better, BETR. So that's a great way to start to get connected to what we're doing. And we're going to have a really a slow roll from an alpha beta test this fall, which we're already fully engaged with. And we're targeting early winter, probably right around Feb 15, for a full launch of all of our assets. So we are spending a whole ton of time making sure that we get it right, that we're super thoughtful about the content that we're creating. But if someone wants to get a flavor for what we're doing, going to Instagram is the best place to go right now.
Sure, and your website as well.
Yeah, website at livebetter.com.
Okay,
so
perfect.
it's in beta development right now.
Right, Live BETR.
BETR.
Right, great. Okay, well, thanks again for coming.
Thank you, Corey.
Tom Eriks, founder and CEO of Better. We'll be back after a few quick messages.
The Earth's lungs, aka the Amazon rainforest, is on fire. It's been burning for several weeks, and the flames are so bad that NASA can see them from space. One search engine company says it can help. Welcome to Tech for Change, a show where we highlight the companies that are working to improve people's everyday lives and are fighting to make a difference through technology. So far this year, about 74,000 fires have been recorded in the Amazon rainforest, which is more than an 80% increase from 2018. Ecosia.org is a search engine that plants about one tree for every 40 to 50 searches. The site sees about 71 million searches per week. In total, Ecosia has planted over 65 million trees throughout the world since the company started back in 2009. Before the Amazon fires, Ecosia had planted 2.2 million trees in Brazil alone. In response to the fires in the Amazon, Ecosia is planting even more. They're planting an additional 1 million trees in the Brazilian rainforest to help make up for the biodiversity lost in the flames. Ecosia's scale is impressive, though if Google took the same tree planting pledge, it's roughly 3.5 billion searches per day, would translate into 46 million trees daily. Aside from helping our environment, Ecosia does not sell your data, does not store your searches, does not use third-party trackers, and securely encrypts all searches. So if you're looking for a way to help the Amazon rainforest and also have more privacy on the web, it's a win-win. Ecosia is making a difference, but deforestation is still a massive crisis. In order to make up for the damage done and to prevent a climate catastrophe, we need to plant 1 trillion trees in the next few years. So instead of Googling something online, go to Ecosia for your search and plant a tree in the process.
This is Digital Trends Live. Again, thank you for joining us here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. That's when we start, and we bring you all kinds of tech headlines, news, interviews, and discussions. Let's bring you up to date on some other trending news stories right now. And this first one has to do with health and technology and some of the advancements in the medical field. In particular, using robots for surgery. So robotics have been used in surgery for a long time, but there was a first that happened, and it actually happened a couple of months ago, but it's just coming out now, and it has to do with heart surgery. So there was a particular robot that actually helped perform long-distance heart surgery. And there were 5 different patients that were involved in this. And so this surgeon who conducted the surgery was nowhere near where this robot actually was. He was able to virtually tap into it and control this and walk through the surgery and actually perform it with them. So to give you some details on it, the 5 patients had a single type A coronary artery lesions. So that's what I'm explaining as far as that side, what it is. And essentially what that means is they had to put in a stent which opens up some of the arteries in order to increase blood flow. They could have had plaque on them, whatever it is. They needed to get in there. I mean, still a very sensitive surgery as far as going in there and actually, needing to open up a heart and perform that. So the really fascinating stuff here is that this surgeon who was performing these was, again, remote, not in there. They had a PCI, which is part of what the procedure is. They were able to tap into this, control it. So what it comes with is a series of different joysticks. This particular kind of robot is called a CorePath GRX from a company called Corindus, and this is their demonstration video here showcasing how that would work. So that has somebody there in the actual operating room. This, however, was remotely. So there's the joysticks, taking a look at that. So they've got a lot of different controls that they can utilize this for, but they were successful on all 5 of them. And probably the reason they waited for a while to tell everybody this happened a few months ago was because they wanted to actually go through and make sure that everything came out okay. All the patients were fine, and it sounds like everybody's actually just fine. And so it was successful all around. This has so many different ramifications for going forward of what the possibilities are with this. And the company in particular, they want to do some more testing. There's going to be some testing. This was actually, I believe in Europe is where this was tested. They're going to do some testing in the United States, trying this out. But going forward, what the possibilities are of how this could change things is opening up this kind of surgery to remote places where they don't have access to actual surgeons. There are only so many surgeons in the world that are trained to do this, but this would open up the possibilities of them being able to operate in remote areas, in areas that are underserved, and you would have to have one of the robotic facilities there, but still, that's something that's huge. So you'd still have a human who's doing this. This isn't completely autonomous, where they're having an autonomous machine perform this kind of procedure. But the fact that they can have that much dexterity, that the connection is that good, that they're able to do this is incredible. And this is also just speaking to a broader scope. This is what 5G technology can also enable. That's one of the things when we have full-on 5G connectivity everywhere. This is one of those things that's brought up as an increasing possibility because you have an instant connection. They've tested some of this out in China, actually, using a 5G remote connection or at least supposedly, a 5G remote connection to perform some kinds of surgery. But something as sensitive as heart surgery, that's amazing. And this is without 5G technology. This is just where we're at right now. So pretty incredible. Wanted to bring everybody up to date on that. The information is just rolling out now. They wanted to make sure the patients were okay, but that's something you can read more about at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's give you some other updates on trending topics and news stories that are developing right now. And this next one, we're going completely opposite. We're going to space. So let's talk about Elon Musk, SpaceX, and some new filings that are being revealed as far as their plans for testing more of their spaceships, and in particular, the Starship. Now, the Starship is the pinnacle of what SpaceX's program is going for right now. This is the ship that in theory, would be taking people to Mars or to the moon or interplanetary, excursions. That's actually what they want it for. They want it for interplanetary travel. This machine or this ship, once they get to this point, would be utilized for all kinds of things, whether it's commercial, whether it's industrial, whether it's tourism. They think it's one of those things where it's utilitarian enough where they could be able to use this for all kinds of different things. So what's happening now is with these documents that have been filed, this is essentially in advance of a flight. They're getting ready to set up a facility. They're actually building it right now. It's in South Texas. This would be their spaceport for this Starship. And they've got all kinds of plans that have been revealed as far as, a giant water facility because you have to cool everything off. They're setting up the base. This is the spaceport where they're going to be testing this out. And Elon Musk actually posted something saying that it's underway for a test soon. So we think the test, or there's going to be an update anyway, and not necessarily the test, but an update event is going to be happening on September 28th, and that's what he posted about that. So September 28th is when we're going to find out more, but it's thought that this could be actually happening as early as late fall, early winter, where they could be testing out one of these ships, because what they filed for this flight, we saw the little Starhopper tests that they were doing a couple of weeks ago. That's all part of this grander scheme. So the theory is that they could be testing one of these ships to go up to an altitude of 74,000 feet, a lot higher than the 500 feet that they did before, where we go up, spend some time there that's not quite into orbit, and then be able to land safely back down a short distance away from where it took off. And that's the key, is the reusability and the safe landing, obviously, especially if you're going to have people in that. The grander scheme is, once they get this all worked out, they would go to the moon, then they would go to Mars, and this would be able to bring people there, take off, come back, bring supplies. They could do all kinds of things with it and have this reusable starship there. One other thing as part of their plans is the idea of using this for actually Earth travel. So one thing that they're claiming is, if they can do this, they can get up to that high of orbit. They can actually zip around the planet very quickly, and one of their claims is that you could get anywhere on the planet, in theory, within 1 hour. That's pretty incredible. And they showcase, what they say some of the flight times would be. I think it was like 32 minutes from New York to London or something like that, because you just get so high up into orbit and then you just are able to go down. So yeah, 25 minutes from LA to New York, in theory, with the Starship. Who knows? If this is ever actually going to come to fruition. This is SpaceX. They're making some grand claims here, but it's still really, really incredible what they've accomplished so far. So you have to think that, maybe this is something that they could do eventually. Who knows how many years down the road this would be, but it's got to start somewhere. And the fact that they're already getting ready to test this Starship for 74,000 feet, that's big. That's really, really big when it comes to this. So September 28th, again, that's when we'll find out more. I wouldn't be surprised if Elon Musk or SpaceX kind of leaks out a little bit more information about what they're going to be doing, but they're making no secret about the fact that they're building the facility right now and actually putting together one of the Starships. So it's not going to be surprising if we don't see it by the end of this year, at say early next year, that we'll see some kind of a test go forward, and we'll see where it goes from there. But pretty exciting stuff when it comes to space travel, so I want to make sure everybody's up to date on that. There's always going to be more information coming out. You can follow up at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's give one more thing here, one more trending story, and then we're going to be having an interview coming up. Very, very much looking forward to that, so I'll fill you in on those details here in just a minute. But let's talk about another test that is going on, and this is going back to the Earth side of things, talking about autonomous flying taxis. Everybody's trying to make one. Everybody wants in on the action. Uber's doing it. So many different companies. Boeing's got plans in the works. A lot of independent companies. Volocopter. This is actually a Chinese company that has been working on this for a while. It's called eHang, and they tested out one with a passenger. So this is the first autonomous flight from them with a passenger on board. Their vehicle in particular is one of those basically built like a drone. So it looks like a drone. It's got the rotors around it. There's 16 different rotors. It can carry 1 to 2 people, so it's a very light load. And you see it right there testing it. That is completely autonomously flying, according to them. With that woman who's inside of that. That's brave. I don't think I would want to be the one that's going to be testing that out myself. But that's what she did. So this vehicle in particular can go about 22 miles at 80 miles an hour. So we can get going up to 80 miles an hour, can travel 22 miles. And that's part of the goal of these, is for intercity travel. That's what we're looking for. So it'd be for that last minute, you get into the airport and you want to skip traffic and jump over everybody, or you want to commute to work. This is what these things would be used for. Now, maybe they could expand it, maybe they could make it bigger, go further, we don't know. But right now, that's where they're at. And still, it's a pretty incredible achievement just to be able to get to that point where you have a person in there. If you look at the rotors, it looks extremely dangerous, because those rotors are just open right next to the cockpit. That's the one thing I would think of. Make sure it comes to a complete stop before you get out of that thing. But that's where we're at right now. So these are some of the different types of flying taxis that we're seeing, and where they can actually go. But that's somebody who actually tested it out. Pretty exciting stuff, and you can follow up with more of that at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's continue on with Digital Trends Live and continue these conversations and interviews that we get to have. Thank you to everybody who joins us here. Hit that subscribe button, that way you get the notifications when we do go live. And since we're live right now, I'm Greg Nibbler. We are joined by Catherine Petralia, who is the co-founder and president of Cabbage. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So excited to talk about this and talking about small businesses and capital and getting the money they need and how the flow is working for that. Let's give everybody a base to go from, of just talking about your company in particular, talking about Cabbage, and then go from there and talk about all this exciting stuff.
Sure thing. So Cabbage's data and technology platform enables real-time cash flow management for small business. what that means to us is we got started with providing working capital, small business loans to businesses who were selling on eBay. So we built something that was automated and allowed our customers to get access to capital in less than 2 minutes. Today, we serve all small businesses, whether they're construction firms or whether they're retailers or restaurants or law practices, you name it. And we're able to give them access to lines of credit up to $250,000 in less than 10 minutes.
That's very fast. I want to find out some more about that. So when it comes to this, though, just to give an understanding for small businesses and entrepreneurs, why is it so important to have access to that kind of cash flow?
Well, working capital is important for all businesses. Most large companies have access to debt facilities that they use to run their businesses. Small businesses need capital for a lot of things, whether it's to manage cash flow gaps, buy equipment, invest in growth for their organizations. It's really exciting to know, from a small business perspective, 80% of small businesses have fewer than 20 employees. So you're talking about very small businesses, and they're looking for less than $250,000 usually. And it's hard for financial institutions to provide that kind of capital cost effectively. So we've deployed more than $7 billion to small businesses, and every $1 billion in working capital that a small business gets results in 22,000 jobs created. So we're really excited to be part of that kind of economic driver.
So how do you automate something like this with so much money going through, and where does the financial backing come from for that much for these kinds of loans?
Well, our business couldn't have existed 10 years ago the way it does today because real-time access to the third-party data we use to make credit decisions for our customers wasn't available. Today, we connect to all kinds of data sources that our customers are using to run their business. Everything from a checking account to accounting data, payment processing data, shipping data, social data, web analytics data. All of this information gives us an idea about our customers' health. And so we can get all that data in real time. It's customer-provided data, customer-directed data, and we stay connected to that information, which gives us the ability to provide a line of credit and to have a continued ongoing relationship with those customers.
So with this kind of democratization of it, I mean, it seems like it levels the playing field quite a bit for small businesses as far as getting access to that kind of capital. How do you see this going forward? Where do we see this going? Because like you said, 10 years ago, this wouldn't even probably have been possible. But right now, we're already at this point. Where do you see this going and progressing?
Well, you're exactly right. So I specifically said that we provide cash flow management services to our customers. I wouldn't have said that a year ago either, because what we're building out is a suite of products and services that include things like payment processing, which we already have in market, and expense management, charge card, and the last thing is checking accounts. So I think that's a really interesting distinguishing factor. Many small business owners actually go to check cashers on the weekend because they can't get instant access to funds they deposit, and their mobile and ATM deposit limits are so low. So it's really important to them to work with a bank partner to have a checking account that gives them access to their funds when they need it. So we think that's a really big driver for small business growth.
Well, talking about growth and where this is going, I know in particular there's something for Cabbage that happened on Tuesday, September 3rd. At least the announcement came out. Can you talk to us about what that is and what that means for your business?
Sure. We acquired a company called Radius Intelligence, and it is a company with whom we have been working for some time, but they have information on 22 million small businesses in the US, and there are roughly 30 or 32 million, depending on whose numbers you believe. And so we think it's really exciting to not only get access to a platform that they've developed that stays connected to all of this business data, but also to the team of folks who work there who can help us sort of continue to run this engine and get more information about small businesses.
So with the access to that much data, how do you secure that? Who owns that data?
Well, all the data that Radius has is publicly available data. So that you could say the internet owns that data for all intents and purposes, but it's not proprietary data. It's simply data that they've learned over time how to collect, and a lot of it is data that's hard to get.
So that's great. So you've got that now, and you can use that, and extrapolate from that on different ways that you can help businesses. So again, looking at this, from a standpoint of a business, can we walk through what that experience would be like? So say there's a small business out there right now. They want to get a loan for $50,000. What are the steps they need to go through with Cabbage in order to make that happen?
They literally just come to our website and they provide information about their business, the normal application form, what's the name of your business, and what's the address and things like that. We verify identity of the business owner, which I think is important, obviously, for for regulatory and compliance purposes. But the next thing we do is we ask them just to log in to the systems and tools that they use to run their business. And like I said, in less than 10 minutes, these customers have access to a line of credit that they can use immediately for running their business. And again, it's a line of credit up to $250,000, but they don't have to do anything. We go out and collect the data.
So looking at this, I mean, it seems like it's almost it's a disruptive technology as far as this industry in a good way, and I mean that in a good way. How is the traditional banking community reacting to things like this?
I'll tell you, we're not really disintermediating anything that was happening before, because financial institutions were not serving customers of this size before. 100% of our customers have a checking account with the bank, but they just can't get a loan from them. And I think that's an important distinction. So what we're really doing is opening up a market that either didn't have access to capital before, or they were using personal credit to run their business, which obviously has negative implications for their personal credit, and it ties up capital for them that they could be using to run their families too. So I think that's what is most exciting to our customers, is the ability to have a product that a bank couldn't give them before, and the banks couldn't do it because they had a very manual process. There were a lot of people and a lot of paper and faxes and time involved, and it was pretty daunting. They would ask for things like, or they do ask, financial statements and lease agreements and all kinds of information that small business owners hear, and they're like, oh, that sounds really complicated. Maybe I should call my accountant. Maybe I just don't really need that loan. Plus, it takes a long time, and they may not know if they're going to qualify for weeks or months.
Yeah, so I feel like that automation process really is just imperative, and how much that can do. Like looking at that for small businesses, how important is that in general with automation or using artificial intelligence along those lines?
The business owners themselves don't really care how we do it. What they care about is that we're going to save them time, because it is the one commodity that is in short supply for all of us, and especially for small business owners. They're doing all the jobs at their businesses. They're running marketing, and they're running finance and accounting, and they're also, stocking the shelves, and they're preparing the meals and doing everything else that they need to do to run that business. And I think there's so many demands from a financial services perspective on them, and they work with so many different tools. Anything that saves them time is really valuable.
As far as Kabbage right now, where do you see it going in the next 5 years?
Well, obviously, we're going to grow,
Yeah.
And we're going to launch a lot of new products. Where I see us going is effectively what I would say will be in the next couple of years is a sort of a pocket treasurer for our customers. And 5 years from now, I'd say we'd be more of a CFO for them, managing all of their financial matters related to their business.
Great. Well, I want to say congratulations, on where you're at right now, and just the acquisition that you just made, and where you're going, and making it easier for businesses. So, again, I just want to reiterate for everybody out there who's an entrepreneur, a small business owner who wants to get a loan, if they want to come to Kabbage, where's the first place they should go?
They should go to www.kabbage.com, Kabbage with a K, or a C. You can go either way.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us here to talk about this. Really exciting to see where technology is taking this, democratizing the whole process for small businesses, and really opening up capital for a lot of people. And appreciate you sharing this here on Digital Trends Live.
Thanks so much, Jake. Take care.
All right. We are live here on Digital Trends. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I appreciate it. I'm Greg Nibbler. I appreciate you joining us here on the show. And we do broadcast live every single weekday. So let's continue on here. Let's just actually, we're going to recap what we talked about today so far. So let's go back to the beginning of the show. We had Nick Moke in here. We recapped everything that went on with that Apple event that happened yesterday. There's so much information we have at Digital Trends, talking about the iPhones, the Apple Watches, everything you want to know about Apple. We've got it. We've got in-depth coverage, all at digitaltrends.com. So you can find out more there. Continuing on here, we had Vicki Holt, President and CEO of Proto Labs. Really interesting, talking about how you can get prototypes made really quickly now thanks to 3D printing, and they can handle it all sometimes within a day. So if you're inventing something, you need to see what a part looks like, they're the people to go to. So Proto Labs, really fascinating conversation. Drew Prindle in here, bringing us up to date on what's going on with all of the news about vaping. And it's not all great news, but it is important news, and it's trending, and it's something we should all know about. You can follow up with more of that at digitaltrends.com. And we had Tom Arks, who the founder and CEO of Better, joining Corey Gaskin in New York, talking about their marketing platform. And then we had Catherine Petralia, co-founder and president of Kabbage, They're joining us. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Tomorrow we have a really exciting lineup of guests that are going to be joining us. Qualcomm's going to be here. It's very, very fun, talking about a lot of different things, including 5G and also connectivity. We're going to have all kinds of discussions about that tomorrow, and we'll be here live. So hit that subscribe button. We're live every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. That way you get the notification. It pops up. You hop over. You join the show. It's just that easy, and it's fun. And thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.